All right, well, happy Sunday, Central Georgia. It's Meteorologist Ansley Parker here, and we are going to dive into the extended forecast. There is kind of a lot to talk about for the first time in a while. You likely have had a lot of rainfall throughout most of your morning so far. So I'm going to tell you where kind of things stand with the rainfall right now, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the next round of rainfall and potentially a couple of thunderstorms that could be on the way for the rest of the afternoon. So with all that introduction out of the way, let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to come over here to our computer and we will start breaking this thing down. So currently it's pretty much a widespread rainfall situation just about everywhere, and it's been this way for the majority of the morning, like I mentioned. You can see across all the sky cams right now, it looks like every single one does have some rainfall at the moment, and when I look at the satellite and radar, that does seem to line up. So we are still dealing with rainfall, again, since early this morning, and it's really not necessarily going anywhere, at least for the next little bit or so. But the temperatures haven't been terrible, so it's not a freezing rain, or not in the literal sense, but it's not necessarily a cold rain. It's just kind of hanging out in the mid 50s, and otherwise it's just a little bit dreary. So I showed this yesterday. If you were watching yesterday at this time, I talked a lot about this map because it kind of shows this low pressure system on a greater scale. I just like how the winds kind of emphasize what's going on in the atmosphere. And you can also see it from the temperatures as well. So obviously this kind of circulation may draw your eye a bit, and that is because this is a low pressure system right now. It's over portions of Mississippi and Alabama. You can see how it's dominating most of the atmospheric flow here at the surface. So it's dragging in cooler air from the north on the back side of it, but on the front side, it is actually bringing in some warmer and more moist air in from the Gulf and from the Atlantic. So we are a part of that kind of warmer air crew here, and we are getting some southwesterly flow, southerly flow that is having our temperatures actually sit not so bad right now. We're sitting somewhere in the mid to upper 50s. A couple of areas, especially our southern counties who have had a little bit less rainfall today, are actually in the low 60s. So temperature-wise, it's actually not going to be a terrible day. You just probably won't have the chance to really get outside and enjoy these temperatures today because it's just going to be a little bit of a rainy afternoon. So basically, big picture, what you need to know for the rest of the day is we are going to have a gap in the rainfall coming up here, actually not too long from now, probably within the next couple of hours, but there actually will be more rainfall coming in behind this initial line. So we're not necessarily done with it yet, and actually the rain that we see a little bit later on is the rain that could potentially bring in a couple of thunderstorms as well. So let's jump into the satellite and radar to see where things stand right now. Now, when I flip over to this, it's probably pretty obvious what jumps out at you first. That's going to be this big red box here, all these lightning strikes, and then the severe thunderstorm warning and the tornado warning. So let's start down here in portions of South Georgia and really the Florida Panhandle. So the red box that you see there, this is a tornado watch, not a warning. This is an area that basically has ingredients that could be conducive to a tornado warning. And that is the case kind of right at the Georgia-Florida border here. A tornado warning has spurred up there, along with just this really strong area of this line is basically all under a severe thunderstorm warning. So this has been the case kind of through most of the progression of this system, and this lines up a lot with where the Storm Prediction Center and the National Weather Service were thinking that ingredients were going to be higher for storm chances anyways. I want you to notice how in our area here, we kind of had this initial push of just a big rainfall event before this actual organized line got to us. That didn't really happen down here in the Panhandle and parts of southern Florida. So all of their environment was essentially left untapped. They had all these severe weather ingredients that basically were untouched. And when this organized line came through, you just see how it explodes here in this basically untapped environment. And that's why this tornado watch is for this area. Our environment is kind of exhausted because we've been dealing with rainfall all morning. It's been cooling the temperatures down. It's been taking out just some of the parameters that we need to have severe weather. Down here, that has not been the case. So as this basically front from this low pressure system has moved into this area, it has just been able to kind of explode, and that is why they have severe weather down there. Now, I know it looks like this tornado watch extends into Crisp and Wilcox counties, but I want to give you some clarity. It actually does not. These boxes are not quite as precise as, you know, the county by county warnings. In fact, just to give you some peace of mind, the tornado watch, it stops just below those counties. So you can see that here. Does not include Crisp and Wilcox, but we are kind of on the edge of this basically severe weather setup. So I want to show you the satellite and radar with the Storm Prediction Center outlooks overlaid on it so that you can also see, yes, I would say we still have the potential to have a gusty storm, maybe some rumbles of thunder. Again, we're going to be talking a lot about this over here. But most of these severe weather chances are down here in the level 2. So we are kind of in the level 1. Portions of our area are in the level 2, but it's really this level 2 down to the south of us where the concern lies. And I mean, again, it's the same kind of thing as the watch. These lines, when we're kind of on the edge like this, I don't usually get too hung up about that because these products are basically issued for a large scale area. So the same kind of way that we talk a lot about long range models being lower resolution, that's kind of the same thinking with these kind of things. So I don't get too hung up on portions of our counties being included. I would really consider most of our area just to be in a level 1 with the chances for severe weather increasing the further south you go. So that is where we're at right now, and I apologize for the gap in my talking. I'm actually in conversation right now with the National Weather Service just to ask about what their thoughts are about what's basically going on back here, because this is a big low pressure system. So you can kind of just tell, and I'm going to turn off the SPC outlooks just because it's kind of getting crowded on here. You can tell just by looking at the circulation of this whole thing that it's a low pressure system, right? Because you've got basically your low over here, and then it's rotating and it's pushing this associated front across our area. But eventually, we are actually going to see this rain that's wrapped around the low make its way towards us. So that's kind of what's coming next, and that's what I'm trying to watch and basically nowcast to try to figure out, okay, how are these little showers and potential storms going to interact with our environment? So that's the question that we basically still need to answer at this point in time. And that is what I kind of chatted with the National Weather Service to see their thinking. Really quick, I'm going to read that just to see if it's any information I could throw to you right now. Okay. So, I mean, I think basically what they're saying here is kind of the same thing that I'm thinking. This area, it's just worth watching, which is kind of what I've been saying all morning as well. Obviously, our environment has gotten a lot of rainfall this morning, but that rainfall is kind of coming to an end and we're heading into the afternoon. So there is a chance that our environment has the opportunity to recover a little bit, and what's back here could end up resulting in a couple of thunderstorms as it moves into our area. So that's kind of what we're going to be watching here. But again, overall, the threat for severe weather was always going to be a little bit further to our south. We are not going to talk about something that has major implications on our area. It would really just be a couple of thunderstorms that could get strong to maybe severe. So I'll give you more details on that here in just a moment. But this is actually our area, and I'm sorry I'm all over the place. It's just kind of taking you behind things that I'm thinking about, things that I'm looking at, how this kind of stands big picture. But this is our area. We are just dealing with rainfall at the moment. Pretty much widespread rainfall. We've seen this since about 7, maybe a little bit earlier this morning, and it's just been nonstop since then. We've got this huge swath of rain that has just been blanketing our area since then, and it has not really let up. I've been hearing it consistently over the station. I've been seeing it on most of the sky cams. Hold on, let me make sure my mic did not just disconnect, but I don't think it did. Sorry, it fell off of my strap that I used to keep it secure to my leg. So we have just been, again, dealing with rainfall all morning long, and that's kind of the most that we're seeing, at least at the moment. There's not even really any lightning strikes here in our area. It has just been pure rainfall. So that kind of main area of rain is beginning to move out. But remember, like I said, we're going to see that low, the actual center, make its way towards us, and there's another round of rain and potentially a couple of thunderstorms on the way for the second half of the day on Sunday. So that's kind of why I've been calling it an all-day washout. You may have a little bit of a gap coming up here in a minute, but it does not mean that rain is not behind it. The good news is, as we head into the overnight hours tonight, all this rain will begin to die down and we won't have to worry about it as we enter the work week. So that's a big picture of what it looks like. I think it's kind of helpful to have that perspective. But now let's talk a little more specifically about central Georgia. So the rainfall that's out there right now, always good to do a little bit of a pulse check as well when we flip over to different model runs. How does this compare to where the radar stands right now? I would say not bad. That's kind of what we're dealing with at the moment is the rainfall over here in our area, and it does pick up a little bit on some of those showers that are popping up behind it. So we'll say not bad, and we will go with what this model thinks for the moment. So here's kind of that gap, right? As we head into the early afternoon time frame, you may see some areas may deal with no rain, some areas may just deal with light rain, but then as we head kind of into the later afternoon and early evening, that next round of showers, and again, potentially a few thunderstorms here, is on the way. So it's kind of a brief, short-lived break. In fact, some areas may not have that break at all. But if you do, just know another round of rain is on the way on the back end of that low pressure system. And it sticks with us all the way into Sunday evening until dying down kind of in the later evening, I guess you could say. Around 8 to 9 p.m. is when this should start to transition over into mainly just a few scattered light showers, and then that overall severe weather threat should end around this time as well. And then again, like I said, as we head into the overnight hours, we stay nice, clear, and quiet. So I want to show you the HER model because this is the one that has kind of been thinking that this second round of showers could be the one where we see a couple of thunderstorms. And I think the graph may partially agree with that. You know, we're in that level 1 risk for the rest of the day. So the way that I'm kind of seeing it is we should be watching for the rest of the afternoon for the potential for any of these to become strong to severe thunderstorms. But overall, I'm hoping that the rainfall that we have out there right now will kind of help make our environment not quite as conducive for severe weather chances, but it is there for the rest of the day. So the HER kind of thinks the same thing as it brings in that second round of showers. There could be a couple of thunderstorms in there. We deal with that into about the late evening, and then all of that dies down in the overnight hours tonight. So we talked a little bit already about the Storm Prediction Center outlook, but what specifically am I going to be looking for as we go throughout the rest of the day? Really the 3 things that we have listed on the side here. So the first and foremost, probably the main thing that we'll be watching for is a couple of isolated strong to severe storms. So when we played out the graph model, you probably were able to see it has the thunderstorms pretty broken up behind that initial line. So not necessarily a widespread line, kind of like what we see down there in South Florida right now, but a broken up area of showers and thunderstorms that could, you know, have 1 or 2 of those end up being strong to severe. So I'm not talking about another line that's coming through that's going to be widespread severe weather for everybody. There could just be kind of like what we see in the summertime, 1 or 2 storms that get strong to severe, and then the rest of it, you know, is just run of the mill thunderstorms or just some showers. The main thing to watch for within those severe thunderstorms is going to be this second bullet here, gusty winds. So that would be the main threat heading into this afternoon. You know how it goes when we have some stronger thunderstorms that could have some gusty winds. We're talking winds that are in the 50 to 60 mile an hour range. So severe thunderstorms or strong thunderstorms. Now, I know this is probably the one that grabs most people's attention, the chance for a brief spin-up tornado. So the thing is, we're kind of entering that time of year. Obviously, we're not in severe weather season just yet. We're not really in the springtime just yet, but we're kind of in that time of year where we're starting to pay attention for the chance just for, you know, 1 or 2 brief spin-up tornado chances. I also get questions about this all the time. What is a spin-up tornado? It's really just a tornado that tries to rotate for a minute, or an area of rotation on the radar that doesn't last for very long. So it would not be one of these long duration, long track tornadoes with heavy damage across a major area. It would just be something that if it touched down at all, touched down for just a brief moment and then picks back up. So kind of as we get into February and then head into March, you know, start talking about severe weather season, you'll probably see this basically with any level 1 risk. It just becomes something that we watch for pretty much all the time when we have organized events coming through here. So us adding this does not mean, you know, hey, we're really worried about a major tornado situation. No, that's not the case. It's just that once we get into this time of year, it's kind of always something that we have to look out for when we have organized lines, just because these organized lines can have really small areas that try to rotate just for a few minutes before they end up straightening back out. That's kind of the case, and just to give you kind of this full picture view here of what's going on down there in the panhandle of Florida. It's already gone. Remember, just a few minutes ago they had a tornado warning down there, but in these large organized lines, sometimes we can get a small area of rotation, and that is the kind of tornado warning that I'm talking about. So that would be what we'd be looking for the rest of this afternoon, just an isolated brief spin-up tornado chance, but mainly we're talking about that chance for a couple of strong to severe thunderstorms. I know some people like to see this product to put that kind of picture all into perspective, so I'll play this out as well. You're going to notice as I play this out that we are on the low end for seeing a tornado, so even it being outlined as a risk, we are in the low end category. Notice the coloration for higher chances of tornadoes is down here in southern Georgia and in Florida. Up here, we're all in these whites. That just means the chances overall still really aren't great, but they're there, so it's worth outlining nonetheless. I hope that kind of makes sense. It's just going to be there as we go throughout the rest of the day until these storms eventually leave us. So it'll be something that we watch for the rest of the day. My best advice for this afternoon, if you are planning to be out or if you happen to see the rainfall stop and then you are trying to kind of head outdoors, just know more rain and maybe a few thunderstorms are on the way for the rest of the day. It's probably best to just have alerts on your phone and just kind of stay into tune with the weather. Otherwise, it's not really something that you need to worry about too much. So we talked a little bit about the severe weather chances. This is also a really decent rainmaker for us as well. In fact, some areas have already tacked on some pretty good totals. So I know that this graphic maybe shows some areas not quite getting so much, but I do think that most areas here in central Georgia will probably see around an inch of rainfall, and the heavier spots will end up being over that. In fact, when we flip it over to the rain that we've seen so far, just from kind of the last, I know this says 5-day rain totals, but this is really just in what's happened over the last couple of hours. Now I actually, even from the time I made this graphic, am probably able to grab a new value. Yeah, and in the heaviest spots, we are already sitting over an inch. So with more rain on the way, we're only going to add to these totals, and that should hopefully help out here in central Georgia with the drought conditions that we have across our area. We have been in drought conditions for quite some time, so the rainfall that we get today is definitely important. Hopefully it can help us, especially we just kind of saw those higher totals over in these kind of counties, Upson, Taylor, Macon, and that's good because they're the ones who are creeping towards some stronger drought conditions. So that is kind of how things stand right now for the rest of the day. The main kind of thing that you need to know, there's another round of rain and a couple storms heading into our area as we head into the rest of the afternoon, kind of until 8 p.m. tonight is when we're going to be watching for these. So some of those could be strong to severe. Overall severe weather chances are still low, but it warrants paying attention. And then as we head into the upcoming work week, it clears out, and actually we stay clear for majority of the work week, and then the temperatures take advantage of that time and they end up climbing to a really high number. So just to give you some perspective for the upcoming week, this is really the only all-out washout kind of day that we have on the 7-day forecast. The rain chances beyond this are fairly minimal. Monday through Friday, we stay mainly dry. There could be a weekend rain chance on the way next weekend. Right now, it doesn't look to be major. Just a couple of showers that could be possible on Saturday. The main thing this week really is not going to be the rain. It's going to be the temperatures. Monday through Friday, the temperatures are going to work their way up into the 70s. By the end of the work week next week, we are going to be near 80 degrees in the afternoon. So really warm weather on the way for kind of the second half of the work week. And not only in the afternoons, but also in the overnights. Take a look at the lows. Instead of being down in the 40s and the 30s, we're going to work our way up into the 50s in the overnights and early mornings. So beyond what we see today, it's really going to be a story of warmer temperatures. It's just today that we need to be kind of on the lookout for any potential storms that could pop up in the second half of the day today. But of course, I will be here all day long watching those and making sure that we don't end up seeing anything that becomes a threat to the area. So if we do have severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings, etc., you know where to find that information right here on 13 WMAZ. And we will be here all day just kind of tracking the system until it leaves our area by later this evening. So like I said, my best piece of advice is just if you're heading out for the rest of the afternoon, don't let this gap in the rainfall that's coming up fool you. There will probably be more rain and potentially a couple of thunderstorms on the way for the afternoon. As those roll into your area, just make sure you have your phone on you. Be paying attention for potential alerts in case any of those storms try to become strong to maybe severe. Other than that, once we are done with this at the end of the day, it should be smooth sailing heading into the rest of the work week. So hopefully that gives you something to at least look forward to. Again, I'll be here all day, so if there's more information to hear, you will hear it from me first, and you can actually continue to track what's going on outside even while I'm not here. Our 24/7 radar is right here where you are on 13 WMAZ Plus. You can watch that all day, anytime. You can watch the rain roll in, you can see where storms are, and you can just stay up to date with the latest in terms of the system moving across our area. So be sure to check that out. It's really cool. It also has current temperatures, other data from central Georgia areas, and it's actually one of my favorite products that we have. So I will leave you with that. Feel free to hop on over to the 24/7 radar for more information about where things stand right now, and we will just continue to watch this system all day today. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a very safe and restful Sunday.